Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hey, this is Aaron. I just wanted to do a quick PSA just to let you know that our podcast is actually looking for a new intro song. We're looking for about an original 30-second brass band composition. If you happen to be chosen, we'll invite you to be featured as a guest on a bonus episode of the podcast, as well as you will get credit at the end of every podcast. So, if you're a composer or you're interested in maybe trying to compose for this, we have bands to record it. We just need the composition. So, if you're interested, please email submissions to Amy at amyschumacherbliss@gmail, AMYSCHUMAKERBLISS @gmail. And if you need that information, you can also find it on our website, newworldbrass.com. But yeah, we thought it would just be great to feature some brass band music in the beginning of our podcast and as the exit outro. But as you can imagine, when I was putting this together initially, there's not a lot of just like brass band music on free to use podcast music websites. So hopefully we can find a great submission for you guys. I'm looking forward to all of your submissions. And anyway, let's get on with the show.
Oh, I have no idea. We're supposed to get together in about 3 weeks, and I'm just waiting for people to call about the uniforms. People one way. They're either a lot smaller than they were, or most of us are not smaller than we were the last time.
Concert black is a little more snug than I remember it being.
Yeah, that's probably what we're going to be playing
in. That's funny. Well, we're here with Lee Harrelson tonight. We recorded, although I don't know when these are going to come out, I know that we recorded with Helen Harrelson last night and had a good time. So we're looking forward to having some different conversations with the other Harrelson and talking about some of the things that he's an expert on and has perspective on. So welcome and thanks for coming in with us, Lee.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Congratulations on this new project that you guys are doing. I think it's fantastic. I will go ahead and apologize. You should play this before Helen's, because I can assure you it will be nowhere near as good as hers.
Well, we'll try. Give it your best shot. She was pretty good, so it's gonna be tough. So, do what you can. So
great job on setting him up there. It's gonna be tough, but
yeah, I don't think you got it in you, but we'll do it anyway. So,
right.
All right.
So I think one of the reasons that I wanted to bring Lee in here is because he is the founder of the Fountain City Brass Band, which is the premier British style brass band in the United States. And I just wanted to pick his brain about it and talk about, what the band is like, how it functions, how it used to function, how it's changed and evolved over the years and things like that. So let's get a little bit of a background about like the early days of the Fountain City Brass Band and how it started.
Well, it started. I was a graduate student at the University of Missouri at Kansas City, and one of my good friends from back when I went to school in Mississippi was playing. He found himself in Arkansas, and he was playing with a Natural State Brass Band down there, and they were going to NABA. I had no idea what NABA was. I kind of knew what brass band was, but not enough, only because I had like Stephen Mead CDs and things like that where there was brass band accompanying. And to make a long story short, he and I met at the St. Louis Arch because we were going to Cincinnati. That seemed like a sensible place to meet. And we drove over. And I just remember the first time I heard it, it was Brass Band of Central Florida was playing in the championship section. And at that time, I was taking auditions. I was a finalist for 3 of the premier bands, like in the finals competition. Something always happened for those jobs. But at that time, that was what I wanted to do. I was pretty much any euphonium player over here at that time. This is a long time ago. I mean, that was what you did if you wanted to make it as a euphonium player. You made it in a service band. But I remember hearing the band play, and I was just blown away by what I heard. And I was thinking, yeah, I would much rather volunteer play in a band like that than, solo with the Marine Band all the time. And it worked out for both of us. So I went back home and I went back to Kansas City, and I was meeting with my private teacher and all. And the famous thing that he always says that I said was I was done with woodwinds at that point. So I was like, well, why can't we have one of those in Kansas City? And at that time, I was tinkering whether should I stick around to work on my doctorate, or should I, go out and be a band director at that point. And I said, well, I think I'll try the doctorate, and while I'm here, maybe I'll try to start that brass band. So I made up this cool letterhead. I had this really awesome business plan about how we would get to a certain point and we'd be able to pay people all this money, that kind of thing, would have these gigs and everything. That paper turned out not to be worth the ink it was printed on, as far as the payment goes. But I sent out probably 50 or 60 letters to people, college teachers, to some of the area freelance players, and then some of my friends at the conservatory. And we got together in early September of 2002, and I will never forget the first notes we ever played was Canterbury Chorale. We played through it, and the second time through that first phrase, when the soprano player at the time playing a piccolo trumpet, a gentleman by the name of Keith Benjamin, I lost it. I'm like, I'm done. This is awesome. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And each year we kind of had people that wanted to keep doing it, even though they realized that my business plan was very flawed, in the fact that I'm a pretty good musician, have good ideas for things like that, but I'm a terrible business person. And we just kind of started building upon ourselves for a few years. We just had fun. And that first year we did 6 concerts, which was a little ambitious. And we did that for several years. We were based in Kansas City. Everyone lived here. It was fantastic. I loved rehearsing every week. I still wish we rehearsed every week, but more importantly, I wished all my friends still lived in town so we could rehearse every week. So essentially, the Fountain City evolution went as each year we had a few people that they stuck in the band. They were really good, and then you have some people that it didn't work out for them, that didn't like that. You kind of had a balance of the people that they're going to get paid if they're going to play, and that's it. And that didn't really jive with the way the brass band works, because there's not a lot of money in it, at least not in our band. But we started playing, we had a good time, we started getting a little bit of following, and then we went to a competition, and that was, as much as I hate to admit it, was intoxicating. We loved it. We loved just having something in it. And honestly, it's not so much the competition with the other bands as we found a way that it's something that made us push ourselves in a way that you just didn't have it anymore. I mean, I played several orchestra jobs and things like that, which I love. I mean, it's great music. I mean, God, there's so much great music. But I've never played anything that compared to some of the euphonium parts that we got to do in brass band and such. But no, so we went along for several years, up until 2010. We played we rehearsed every week in Kansas City, took summers off. And then that's when a lot of the members started getting married, started having kids. A lot of my friends started moving away. They almost all came through UMKC, which was that University of Missouri at Kansas City, at one time. And we just had such a great relationship. Once they moved on, they still wanted to be in the band. And it got to be where we would practice for a few weeks, and then they would come in right at the end and play. And what I realized is like what I realized with my students. If you say there's going to be a performance on X date, then no matter what, life takes over, and no one learned their music until about a week before that next date. So I was like, well, this is crazy. Why don't we just modify it? Why don't we just, and we are very fortunate in Fountain City to have good players that can get together for 3 or 4 days, do a series of concerts, get together a week or so, do a competition, that kind of thing. But that's kind of built over time. And it's built over time through friendships, really. When a good player or a good friend plays in the band, and we don't have openings that often, but when we do, we know somebody that's wanted to do it for a long time, so we invite them in. One of the things that we've really taken up is, and one of the markets that's very good, are young professors, or assistant professors, associate professors, those kind of people that are looking for tenure and promotion, those kind of things. They need to do things. So we have a lot of friends that are young. We kind of reach out to those. Well, back then we had friends that were young. Now we're the old people that show up to these things. But we would just start inviting them. Hey, you want to come sit in for no other reason, to expose them to brass band, so they can take it back to their college, their university. They can take it around, start kind of spreading the gospel, if you will, of what we do, what we all love having a great doing. So it evolved. We get to a place. I finally got to send out an email about a week or so ago. Hey, gang, I think we're actually going to do this performance. It hasn't canceled. We're getting together on September 13th. We're going to rehearse for a few days. I picked a very short program, and we'll see everybody then. So essentially, that's how Fountain City evolved.
Yeah. How long did it take before you were actually to get British instruments to play?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, when we first started, we had French horns, we had trumpets. A few people had the kind of American style cornet that looks a lot like a trumpet, but it's conically bored. That's kind of like the players. We pick 1 or 2 up each year. I mean, the euphonium players, we were fine. We had our instruments. Back then, I used to play a Wilson, and it was a much smaller instrument. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to play that big Besson now. So I moved to that, and I'm currently looking for a smaller Besson to play at my old age. But it's baritones. We imported one. She owned one when she showed up. But those we had a fella that played. He's been to NABA several times. Has a brass band named Pat Stuckmeyer. He had his own baritone. He spent some time. Was he out in England when you were out there, Amy?
He went to Capitol and graduated before I did. So I did a year at Capitol with him, and then he went over to the RNCM. Right. And actually, he was the one who convinced me to audition for the RNCM, because we were on a messenger or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah,
and he was like, what are you doing for your senior recital? And I told him, and he said, that's like audition repertoire for the RNCM. So then that's when I emailed Steve and got hooked up with an audition when he was coming out for Brass Band of Battle Creek.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Pat and I go way back.
Yeah, so Pat had a baritone. Then I think it was University of Kansas bought one. And we used that one for a while. So we had that. Tenor horns, our principal tenor horn player, TJ, who's been principal horn player, he's a founding member of the group. He just bought one from pretty much from the beginning. Actually, no, I take that back. The first year he played rep, and then he made the mistake. But people, they actually shudder to do this. They'll mention sometimes, oh, I think I can play tenor horn or something. And then they're like, oh, that's going to make it back to Lee. You're done.
That's how you become a tenor horn player, by missing a cornet section meeting.
So they, but TJ's like, man, I'll do it. I mean, he's a trumpet player, obviously. I mean, we found that the more natural switch was euphonium players or trumpet players to tenor horn. We had some wonderful French horn players in the band for a while, but I mean, you know how it is. The first thing they want to do is play on with the little adapter kind of thing. And I mean, with anything else, I mean, like brass band, orchestral music, jazz music, whatever you're doing, it's a concept that you're dealing with, a mind concept of what you want the sound to sound like. And TJ was ready to do that. He was ready to commit to it, and he's still piping away on the tenor horn today. We just ended up, essentially, it was probably the first few years. We had players that we didn't have room in the cornet section. They still wanted to play, or they would do it. And then we had actually another member of the band who still plays with us when she can, Jenny Oktar. She was a bassoon player, also a euphonium player, who I'll try it. I'll play it. It's fine. She just wanted to hang out, and she did. And she's played with the band probably 18 out of 20 years. She has a unfortunate back situation that doesn't allow her to travel with us anymore. But she's been a super member of the band for most of the time. Once people started seeing that, okay, if you want to be in the band, you have to have an instrument. You buy them. And then we started making our own brass band players. We started those youth bands, and like now I think this next concert, there's 5 youth band players that are playing in the band, and 3 of them are legit playing the whole season with us, kind of thing.
So one of the things that I think is unique about your band is it's one of the few bands in the United States that actually plays B flat and E flat tubas.
Yeah, that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. Just doing
Wait, is that not a thing?
It's amazing when you get on that same fundamental, how if your tuba players don't have all their valves down trying to play the root of many of our brass band chords, that yeah, it makes a lot of difference. And credit to Besson on that. They helped years ago, I played in a tuba quartet called Twisted Steel, and we were Besson artists, and they made it so we could have some tubas, things like that. So one of the B flats is from that. One of the E flats is from there. We bought one of the. We since bought them. But yeah, that was a turning point in the band, really, the first time you played it. And Tony, you're a tuba player. I'm sure you know that those instruments, no tuba player over here like to play those B flats when they get on it. It's so different than the tubas that we play. But I'll never forget, this is a great story, it's worth sharing with you. The first day those B flats showed up at my apartment, well, one of the B flats showed up at the apartment. Helen had just moved over. She was doing she was on her sabbatical, actually, and this thing shows up, and TJ, the tenor horn player, trumpet player, was at my house. And so this huge box comes open, we open it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a go on it. I couldn't do anything, couldn't get any sound out of this thing. TJ, nothing. It's not happening. We're like, this thing sucks. There's something wrong with it. And then Helen comes in. Like, okay. So,
nothing wrong with this one. It's you.
Yeah, it's definitely me, which has been a theme in our relationship for a while. But no, it was. It really is. It's different, but they still fight me. My B flat tuba players. One of our B flat tuba players, phenomenal musician named Brian Dobbins. He teaches at the University of Oklahoma. And you look. It's easy to look at Fountain City, and I would too if I were an outsider and go, look at all these players they got. Come on, man, bringing in these ringers, kind of things like that. I totally get it. But those people love brass band just like anything else. This Brian Dobbins was a member of the Santa Fe Symphony, and he played with the band one time, kind of thing. We needed somebody to play with us. He taught down near one of our friends, and so Brian comes up and he plays one time. He emails me the next week and he says, hey, is it possible I can play with the band again? And we're like, you can play with the band anytime you want. I mean, because he's about, I don't know, 7 foot tall. He's massive dude and even a bigger sweetheart. But it comes around to the next year and he says, hey, do you have an opening for the season? And I say, oh yeah, we do. And he's, no, I'm serious, because I can only do one extracurricular kind of thing for my teaching. I can either keep playing in that symphony that paid him to go play, or I'd like to play in the brass band, that kind of thing. So he's been a member for years now, pays his way, drives up from Norman, Oklahoma every time we get together, that kind of thing. So he hates that B flat tuba so much, though. He's an Eastman performer, and apparently he has them. He's just sent me an email today saying, "Hey, I think they're ready on their B flat. I'm going to bring it up and try it out," because he keeps asking me, "Can I play it? Can I play it?" And I'm like, as soon as you guys bring anything in that sounds better than those Bessons back there, no problem. You're welcome to do it.
Are they bringing the 3-in-1 compensating?
The one he's bringing up isn't the 3-in-1. Isn't the? I think it's. I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to say what it is. But yes, they're working on 3-in-1 compensating a whole set.
Let me ask you a question. Would it matter to you if it was just a left-facing B flat tuba and then E flat tubas? Would it matter, or does it have to be like the traditional British look with the
I don't. To me, the look doesn't matter. The sound matters. To me, the B flat tubas that all the ones I've heard that are the ones like you talk about thus far have been lighter sounds. They don't have that weight, and it could just be because those massive B flats weigh a ton, what they're made out of. But we haven't had anything that really feels like it has the grounding that those do to this point.
Yeah, I oddly. It's probably not odd me being a tuba player and a brass band director, but I do think about this quite a bit. Yeah, the difference between B flat and E flat and what we use in triangle is C and F, because that's what the players do. And it was funny. I had Philip Harper in here. It was a couple of years ago now because of COVID. And I specifically asked him. I said, I want you to let me know what you think about the sound that the tubas get compared to what the B flat E flat thing is. And the only thing I could get out of him was that your tuba players play great. I'm like,
they play great. But they play tuba, they don't play bass. And as you know, that's quite a bit of difference in the brass band. And I think that, again, that mental concept is just different. I mean, you got to think more like an orchestral bass player, I think, than you do an orchestral tuba player if you're playing in brass band.
Yeah, so I couldn't get him locked down on him. Like, man, you need to get B flat tubas, because I was hoping he would say, look, you got to get B flat and E flat tubas, so I could go to my board and say, we got to get some B flat and E flat tubas. Because it's a pretty hefty purchase to get those. Those things are so expensive now.
Oh, especially now, any brass instruments.
Yeah,
astronomical.
So it's something that I'm investigating. I actually have my B flat basses now interested in playing B flat tubas. So, so they're at least they have the mentality where like, yeah, we'll do that. It's just a matter of finding the instruments. And then the F tubas, switching to E flat is going to be a little bit more of a thing. I'd rather have the player than him, and him, if he's an F tuba player, I'd rather have the player than the instrument for now.
Sure. We were kind of fortunate when during that time when we were transitioning to the B flats and E flats. That's when, Pat Sheridan was all over the place playing tuba, playing that little Besson E flat front action E flat tuba. So it was all right.
That's legit his.
Is it?
That's his. Yeah, that's his E flat. Yep.
Nice.
I bought it from Kale like 3 years ago, and he does know I have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get it autographed?
Not yet. Well, there's plenty of dents if you want to count that I didn't put in it.
No, man. I think if you had a permanent Sharpie marker and Pat's signature on there, you could get an extra $50 for it when you sell it.
I'll be doing like breathing gym with my kids, and they'll see like a bumblebee photo of him holding the thing or whatever, and they'll be like, "That tuba looks familiar." I'm like, "It does, doesn't it?" You're right.
And Pat was a founding board member of Fountain City.
Oh, you're kidding.
For a long time. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was actually Tony, the first time we were going to go to the North American Brass Band Championships, he was going to be our conductor. But our invitation was 1 day late. It was sent back to us. Said, no thanks. So I still have that check, by the way, framed somewhere.
Oh, you mean that you missed the deadline to apply to get into the competition?
Yeah.
They turned you down?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's all right. Hey, it was a day late. I don't think it was, but it doesn't matter. It's not. But Pat was going to be our conductor at that competition the first time, and we'd have got destroyed, but still, it'd have been fun. So, but no, he that was kind of, I guess that was the thing that got him really into brass bands. I know he was doing some work out at the Northern in England, Northern College in England. He was doing some residencies there, and he was playing in Battle Creek a little bit at the time. But no, we had a really good relationship. We still have a great relationship with Pat.
I think when he got out to Arizona, Sam got him in with the Salt River Brass Band out there.
He did, and I remember going to one of their concerts at it was at an iTech. Yeah, it was 2010, and you could tell this was a tuba player who was running this thing, because the whole concert was pedaled the entire time.
If I could only get one of my tuba players to play everything down an octave, I'd probably be the happiest conductor ever. I was like, could somebody play something down an octave?
I'm pretty sure it was Sam Palafian playing it down an octave, so legit.
Probably. Yeah, Sam's an E-flat player. He doesn't play that low anymore.
Well,
or sorry, Pat.
Yeah.
Edit that out, Aaron. So I got a note from Aaron about we should probably make a fast transition here. We probably geeked out on tuba talk for way too long.
I agree.
But we do need to talk about the U.S. Open a little bit. Talk about how you got involved in with Fountain City and running the U.S. Open.
Well, I think the first thing I would like to say to that is Fountain City is not running the U.S. Open. The thing I try to do most is separate myself, which is very difficult to do, from Fountain City and running the U.S. Open, because I can assure you they have to play by the same rules as everyone else. How it came about the U.S. Open is I kind of just nagged the Clark and Dallas Niermeyer for a while. For whatever reason, there were less bands coming to it, and when it was in Chicago, and they were hesitant to let it go, try something else. But in the end, they were willing. Maybe it was just to shut me up, but what I did is I said, look, let's try it for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, if it's not, it looks like it catches any traction down in Kansas City, then we let it go. Well, whatever, you can do what you want with it. But so the first year we did it in Lawrence, at the University of Kansas, in the Lead Center, which is a beautiful place. We ended up having, I think, about 8 bands that came to it, which is pretty good for that competition. It went really well. We were gaining some momentum, and then, like everything else, the world came to a halt. We didn't have it last year. We're scheduled to have it this year at UMKC, at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, the weekend before Thanksgiving. Again, I mean, we're hopeful that we'll be able to have it. We're optimistic that bands will come. We certainly understand that bands are still just now getting back together. Some bands are not comfortable enough to drive across country, much less get on a bus with each other at this point. But no, I love the entertainment competitions. Always have. When we went over to like brass and concert, things like that, that's one thing that I don't think any bands do better than the U.S. bands when it comes to entertainment. I mean, now they may not play in such a way that, Corey plays, Brighouse plays, Foden's, those monster bands over there. But if you've ever heard those bands, and I don't mind saying it, try to play Malagueña or something like that, they don't have the background that we have in coming up through high school jazz bands, things like that, playing those that in that style. I often joke with my British friends that Oh gosh, when you guys play like Brass Machine and things like that, I assume the way I feel is the way you feel when we try to play a test piece. So it's
When
like,
when we were playing Phil Wilby's jazz, we were like, so
wins the jazz.
exactly, like, are we supposed to play this like Americans playing jazz, or are we supposed to be
Exactly.
playing this like Americans playing, you know, jazz as Phil Wilby
Envisions it. Yeah.
it?
No, I know. And it's a legit question. And it's one of the things that I think that has, I mean, like if you watch brass in concert, since our bands have started going over there, like they've done more things. They do more choreography. They do more memorization. They're stretching their boundaries on that thing. And that's one of the things that I really feel like the North American banding scene has really contributed to the global banding scene. So they didn't know if the U.S. Open was going to happen. I'm like, come on, let me try. Let me give it a shot. So unfortunately, at least 1.5 of the years hasn't been that great of a situation to do it in. But we still have good sponsors. We have a lot of bands that are in our area. I think we'll be able to have the competition, whether we have a lot of those outside bands that come in. And one of the things I thought was really important is that we expand that competition to have more than one division, because there's so many great bands out there that they don't want to come compete against this crazy. For instance, our youth band competes in the same competition as Fountain City. That's well, being perfectly candid, if they wanted to, they could probably smoke us in entertainment, and it's more me wanting to get stay out of their way than then I'm scared that they would that we couldn't beat them. But it's I just think it's a great platform for growth of new music, new arrangements, just innovation. And I didn't want to see it go away, so I asked, could I help? And that's what we're up to.
I mean, after the first year, it seemed like it was a good thing, and then COVID. So who knows when it's going to come out of it? So does your 3-year deal with the Niermeyers? Did you count 1 year as going through and 2 years off don't count as anything? So you've got 2 more years, or is
no, I'll have to talk to them about it and see.
Well, like, Jesus, Lee, you haven't done anything with this. You did one contest and you blew it off.
Fair enough. Hey, being perfectly honest, I would love to see the U.S. Open thriving and me not be the person that's running it. So just because I love going to it, I love competing in that competition. I love preparing for it. I love arranging the music for it. And I hate to think anyone thinks, oh, well, look, Lee Harrelson's running a competition that Fountain City's going to be in. That should be nice. So why bring your band to that? It's all tied up when it's certainly not. But I think at least having that second section. Yeah.
I think if anybody really knows you, Lee, I think they know that you're as genuine a brass band person as there is. All you really want to do is spread brass bands.
That's it.
And because you love it and have such a passion for it, you just want other people to share that with you. And you're not really very competitive in terms of, like, oh, well, we have to model our band this way so that we can win competitions. It's really about the true aspect of brass banding, which is the friendships that you've made,
the community. Absolutely.
Together.
No, and I always like to point out that, like, the last time Fountain City won NABA 4 times in a row was when we played together all the time. It's much more difficult doing it the other way, but it doesn't matter. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for a 50-year winning streak or whatever like that, because I know that week I'm going to get to hang out with my best friends, that kind of thing. We're going to make music together. We have a shared common vision and goal. And that's the most important part. Like I said, I definitely think that if you can have a group that plays together and it works for you, then rehearse every week. You'll be better for it. Like I know, like, my band's never going to get to the level of a Corey, of Black Knight bands, that kind of things, playing 3 or 4 times a year together. It's not going to happen. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not why we do it.
You have to play 2 times a week for that to happen.
Yeah, and then throw on top of that 150 years of tradition. So you have that baked in there a little bit.
We've only got another century and a half to go.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, I don't know if I'll make that one, but I'll have fun trying. No, we love doing it. The thing that I try to, anytime that I go out and I do these things, because it always, the question comes up, what would you, if someone was wanting to start a brass band, what would you tell them? If they wanted to start the next Fountain City or something like that. And it's always like, you don't worry about that. You find what works for you, what works for your group. Bands are like people. They're different. They're different wherever they are. And I think if we try to pigeonhole one certain thing, you must do it this way to do this, then lots of arguments and lots of different wars and everything else have been started over ideals like that. So we just do what you do, and have fun doing it.
Yeah. Would you ever start another brass band?
No. I think the only brass band we joke about is Helen. She may have mentioned it in hers, but she used to say that she in England, we're going to start the 4 Bars Rest Home brass band essentially. But so we joke about starting the Fountain City Silver Band one day when we can't play all that hard music anymore, and we just want to go show up to the competitions or whatever, and talk about when we had a band and that kind of thing, and go let our youth bands kick our butts in the 4th section. But that's a day or two down the road, hopefully.
That's funny, but you don't really have to start a band for that. You can just keep Fountain City together. Eventually, you'll get there.
Oh yeah, but we keep getting these young kids coming out. They're hungry as anything, like those youth band kids when they come in. They're like they want to do all the stuff. so yeah, we get I see it, and it's like you can kind of tell through the band. You're like, all right, if we make a change, it's probably going to be this person. Eventually, it's going to be my turn. So. I mean, I'm going to 2nd baritone and 3rd cornet first. That's where I intend to retire. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're the artistic director, it's going to be harder for them to get rid of you.
Hey, but as you said, I'm pretty straight about that kind of stuff. When it's time to make a change, it's time to make a change. So.
Yeah, Gary Jones and brass band right there.
I'd fire myself.
Awesome.
I've thought about it several times.
Well, it's not time yet, man. You got too good a thing going.
Oh no, we have it's like everybody else. We have a great time doing it, and we're just really thankful for the opportunities when we get to do it. We're thankful for people to put together those festivals and competitions. We're really looking forward next summer to playing at the International Trombone Festival. We're going to do their gala concert with some really stunning soloists. And that's just going to be a marvelous opportunity because so many of those trombonists will have never heard a brass band, and that's like our really favorite thing to do, to go. And we've been fortunate enough to do it with the tuba conference a couple times. And I mean, I've always said I thought that brass bands are going to be started by tuba euphonium players, especially euphonium players, because they ain't like they're turning down gigs all the time. But it needs something to do. It's great music. But
trumpet players, it won't be trumpet players.
No. Anyone that started a band, though, that's the most difficult thing. They're used to getting their $100 for going hacking through somebody's wedding or whatever. But no, I genuinely am thrilled about this opportunity to go and play at the Trombone Festival, because again, so many of them, this will be the first time they've heard it, and then hopefully that'll inspire some of them to get involved, seek out a band.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to end it and shift over to our question of the week that Aaron prepared for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually prepared this one. I thought about this one this morning over many, there was a priority list of what I wanted to do, and that just didn't happen. No, so the question is, and I'll start us off this time, what is the furthest that you think you've traveled for a brass band gig? And this is for all of us, so we'll go around the circle.
That would have to be the Netherlands.
Was that with you? Was that with Fountain City, or was that just to
Yeah.
go do it?
Oh yeah, no other brass bands asked me to play with them. If I've played with a brass band, it's pretty much been Fountain City. I did play with the Mighty Eagly band though at Whit Friday one year. I shouldn't miss that out. So they are. That was super fun. They're a sweetheart group of people in England. They do Whit Friday, and they were super excited to have they got Lee Harrelson's coming. This really good euphonium player from America. Never mind that they've got like students that outplay any of us over there. But then the first thing we did, we sat down, we played a hymn, and they called what I heard was number 18. But apparently it was number AT. But either way, I started. So that was my first experience with a real British brass band. And then we went, because we're doing Whit Friday, we went to the marching rehearsal. And I thought, this would be good. I'll hold my arm here. So what we did is we picked all our stuff up. We went outside. We got in a line. We played the march. We came back inside. There was no marching whatsoever.
Didn't even march? I just wanted to see if you could do it in a block.
Yep, that was it. Went outside. We're going outside and practice now. So that was really fun. But no, I would, for brass band, we did, I can't remember the name right off of the competition over there.
The World Brass Band Championship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't World Brass Band Championship.
Oh, what is it?
It was, come on.
What was it? It's in Kirkrada?
No, this one is.
Oh, not that one?
No, it's we don't really hear about it too much because we went to this competition and I was brass band Schoonoven was there. They blew everybody away. There was a brass band Heist was there. Bert Van Tynen was the conductor. Some really great bands, and we were excited because this was like test piece.
The Dutch Open Brass Band?
No, what is it called?
I'm going through Google now.
Oh yeah,
Dutch. It's not the Dutch Nationals because that would
be in Belgium. I think it's in Belgium.
Oh, it's in Belgium. Well, I was looking. Okay.
So
Google.
We went all around there with lots of places. I don't know. Geography's not my thing, or geology's not my thing.
Or geography?
Yeah. I did that first on purpose, Tony. If you hear me, I said geography first. But
the rock formations of Belgium.
So we went to this competition, and literally they're like, this sounds like our kind of competition because it's test piece one day and then an entertainment competition the next. So we did the test piece and we did okay. And then so we get to the entertainment competition. We're like, yeah, here we go. We're going to hold our own on this. And it's blind adjudicated. And there's microphones set up. We do all the Fountain City sets going around, looking all slick and everything. And I just remember talking to Glenn Van Looy afterwards, a really great euphonium player. And I thought this was an entertainment competition. And his quote was, "It is, just no one ever does anything entertaining." So essentially it was just they're playing concert work.
How do you do an entertainment contest blind?
Well, we did it and they didn't see it. That's how that went. So they're probably just like, yeah, this just sounds weird. You're clacking around and everything.
That's insane.
What was the name of that? Eurobrass Championships. That was it.
Okay.
Did it fold?
I don't know. There were a lot of bands. There were a lot of sections there. Eurobrass Dropped-In. That's where it was. So yeah, that was and I think the people that run that, I'm almost positive, are involved with World Brass Band Championships with Yappy Dykstra, because when I see him at Midwest or anything, he's like, "Hey, are you gonna come do it?" It's like it just never has worked out for us to do that competition yet.
That is a long way to go.
Where'd you go?
Probably
Greensboro.
Anywhere. Like we're in the armpit of the world here in North Carolina. It's 10 hours to go anywhere. Cincinnati and Louisville were 7.5 to 8 hours. I think Fort Wayne was probably the longest. That was 13 to 14 hours.
Well, to be honest, it took me as long to get to Fort Wayne as it did to Belgium. So
Did you go the wrong way? Did you get lost?
no, it's a long ways from Kansas City.
I took the youth band to Connecticut one year. We couldn't make it to NABA, so instead there was a conflict with that. So instead we went on a tour we played with the Coast Guard Brass Ensemble.
Oh, cool.
Up there. James Jackson was you've only
Oh, yeah.
band. It's a classmate of mine in Kentucky, and we set something up with him, and we split a concert with the Coast Guard Brass Ensemble. It was awesome. We did a concert with the brass band up there. So we did like a mini tour. We did like a 3-day tour. We saw the Philadelphia Orchestra, and Carol Jansch, brought the kids, together and talked to them and did a Q&A with them. It was a pretty cool tour, since we didn't get to go to NABA, but I don't think that was quite as far as Fort Wayne. I think Fort Wayne was, but that was tough. That's a tough drive. We did the first time we went to Fort Wayne, we put the whole band on a bus, and never again. It was just too much. It was just too long for, the age of the group to sit on a bus for that long. It's, you can do it in a car when it's a lot more comfortable and you can stop and do breaks and stuff like that, or fly, which most of our band does now, is they just fly.
Yeah. All right, get out.
Oh, you got an extra guest.
That's crazy. She wants to go outside. So, but yeah, that's funny you mentioned that about getting to hear Carol give her presentation to the kids. The last time I ever saw her was 20 years ago. It's ironically the same conference that I met Helen at. And actually the week before, we were at the Leaxa Brass Week with the quartet that I played with at the time. And it was just bratty little teenage girl that just kept wanting to hang around everybody and do everything. And Roger Bobo, man, she was attached at the hip of everything. And then we heard her play, like at that age, it's like, oh my gosh. so never mentioned that since, but we'll be hearing about her one day. But yeah, she was a hyper kid.
Fantastic, one of the nicest people. So she was really nice to do that for the band, and
for sure.
So that was pretty cool. Amy, did you answer the question yet?
I have not. I mean, when you guys were talking about driving wise, I mean, the longest trip was going to the US Open, because I was just looking it up, and from Glassboro, New Jersey, it's 12 and a half hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and to Fort Wayne, I think is
closer than Chicago, sure.
Fort Wayne is like 10 off the top of my head. So we always all like, I think for the Open we had a bus, but we usually all go our own way, and there's usually like a party van with like the young guys. And I did take the party van for several years, but then I kind of aged out.
Well, it used to be at the Open, the brass band of Eastern Iowa would bring the party van. They would literally drive this tenement on wheels to this competition, and bless them, I had a good time with it. But no, I remember those days.
And then I think the actual distance would have to be to Kirkrata for the World Brass Band Championships. It was a great trip. We failed miserably at the competition. We did not. We were not prepared. We didn't. So we had a good time. But the best time was actually there's a priory right outside of the town. I don't know if you have been there, Lee, or heard about it, but it's I forget what it's called. But you look up a priory. I mean, you're gonna be able to find it. Because they're not like everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. But it was like there was the part of the building with the chapel that was like 12th, 13th century, something like that.
Yeah, right.
And we were allowed to walk in, and then we asked one of the monks, can we play in here? And they said, sure, just we asked that you're, respectful of the space. So we said, absolutely. So we went in and we played the brass band arrangement of Amazing Grace in there.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And it was awesome. So I think that was a better memory than the competition itself, because that was really special for all of us. So yeah, Kirkcaldy is a great place. If you ever do go to the World Brass Band Championship, they take people. You can stay at the Priory, and it is absolutely beautiful.
Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yeah. So those are my 2 answers. Okay, Aaron, have you answered?
I have not. Longest distance was Orlando to Fort Wayne. That was always a pain in the butt because we would have to go from Orlando to Chicago, then rent a bus as a band because we were always afraid of like doing extra stops with instruments and stuff like that. So we go to Chicago and then over to Fort Wayne. But longest drive, because Kevin was all about us always going as a group when I was at JMU. So Miss Steez, and also he likes to make about 80 stops. So it took us like 14 hours to go from Harrisonburg, Virginia to Grand Rapids, Michigan when it was there. Mm. And that was also the night that I was ruined on wine. That was the trip back. And so that was definitely what felt like the longest car ride or bus ride I will ever be on.
Uh-huh.
Does Kevin stop and like go to historical landmarks and overlooks and scenic overlooks and stop and look and enjoy the views, or what?
No, we go to he like just casually like we'll go to the bathroom, but it'll take us like 20 minutes to do it. Like he'll stop at a place and like he'll literally like it's like you're going on a road trip with granddad is kind of how it is. Like it's really how it feels. And I'm not necessarily calling him old. It's just the old man vibes of the road trip kind of a thing. And I think it's because he's had Ryan, he's had Brandon, he's had now Anna. So he's had enough kids that he's like, I'm done with trying to be fast and on time. I'm just going to enjoy the trip as best as humanly possible. And I think why he does that way, as opposed to like fight it and be stressed about it. He just says, we're just going to take a whole day before we get to our hotel. And he just takes us there. But it's cool. They do, I think they still do it. The JMU Brass Band does a very intense rock, paper, scissors tournament while on the bus. And it is very intense and it is storied. There are legends from the NABA trip on that bus. So there are worse times to be had. It's fine.
Since we name all these things after, remember the Friends, remember the rock, paper, scissors Friends thing?
Oh, yeah.
They're like rock, paper, scissors, and Joey does this. It's like, what is that? He goes, it's fire. Except it was a little bit more colorful than that because it was in the outtakes. It was very funny. If you haven't seen the Friends reunion special, you should check it out. It's really funny. It's on HBO Max. If you have AT&T, you get free HBO. So
I do.
Yeah. You should get free HBO.
We only watch animated things now, so one day, yeah.
Yeah, that's a late night one, I guess. Well, hey, we're going to wrap this up now. Lee, thanks for joining us on this. This was a lot of fun.
Anytime.
I think one of the things we need to do, like in the future, like a couple months from now,